this continue. So, hello and welcome to the third Nagari run. Today we are discussing a film that is quite close to us in the Charles Correa Foundation, a film about housing in Goa called Game of Homes, which was made by a rather large team of diverse professionals led by Donovan Gracias, but which include a sociologist in Mark, a filmmaker in Douglas, and an artist in Govit. So it'll really be interesting to see how and to discuss this film. We are organizing the reruns as part of our annual film competition called Nagari. Nagari aims to be a bioscope on the city, and through its lens, we want to document different types of urban phenomena and urban issues to help people start to conceptualize design solutions and planning solutions to those issues. That being said, let's screen the film.
Oh. Putting on some note.
Hi, all. Thanks for watching through the film with us. And once again, welcome to the team Donovan, Douglas, Mark, and uh, and Govit. So to start with, we were wondering, since you all made the film, which is now almost a year ago, have you all noticed any shift in the real estate market in Goa, given the COVID pandemic? Has it gone up? Are people buying homes, or are, of course, given the financial downturn, are less people buying homes? Could you shed a little light on
And
that?
I think adding to that, there has been certain shift for the people who are working from home, right, because of the pandemic. So people have been shifting to Goa and renting places, buying places to work from here. So has there been a shift in such?
So let me take that question. And yes, it's a very pertinent question. But I'd like to answer it in two parts, actually. So the first part would, I'd like to understand, everyone to understand how we went about making the film and the conception of the film. So uh, yes, it's a gameplay. There are characters, and you have the visuals and a whole kind of macro scenario that you see there. But as we know, the real estate market is very dynamic, and while we can observe certain trends from a macro level, at the micro level, there are so many more interactions happening. There are so many more decisions made. Uh, on an individual level. So, for instance, playing the game of Monopoly, uh, there is a certain thought process that goes behind each move in the game, and it also depends on each player. So, a different set of players playing the game, you probably have a different scenario on the game. Uh, Throughout the game, there's the emotions going on. There is the person's attitude towards life. There are those who think short term. There are those who think short term future. And there are those that think in the for the long term future. So there are all these kind of emotions that are going through a person's mind that influence their decisions. So that being said, with that kind of a start, it was very difficult for us, in fact, to even zero in on the characters that we already had. And often we found ourselves in characters, what was motivating each character. So we had to have a and finally, we came down to these four characters. But let me tell you, we were never always in agreement about. But what you can see in this gameplay, we just probably chose one scenario of the so many different scenarios happening all the time. What we chose is you can probably see from the characters that these gameplays are motivated more by ambition, opportunity, and there's a lot of competition involved, as you can see in the conversation. So this was just one of the so many scenarios that are around that we managed to come at. So in this gameplay, yes, the real estate was one that was influenced by money, ambition, opportunity, and that's what we saw in our personal experience. We managed to zero in on this kind of scenario. The real estate was how we see it in this gameplay. So you have the rising prices motivated by a lot of competition, as well as a lot of availability of money, as well as the opportunity. And it's very interesting that a lot of people that we spoke to, it's all about, I didn't really need a house in Goa, but I bought it just in case, or a friend had bought it, so I bought a house in Goa. So that was the real estate scenario as we saw it at that time. Coming to the question, has it changed? Yes, it has changed because we continue doing our research and conducting interviews. In the post-pandemic, we found that there was a shift in the mentality, shift in the thought process of people who were suddenly moving to Goa. As was rightly mentioned, the work from home scenario. You could probably work from anywhere now, and people are trying to get out of the big cities. they didn't want to be locked up in their apartments, right? It was getting a bit too frustrating. That's one of the cases that people couldn't bear being in those smaller apartments, having to work. So they thought, okay, we get out, we have a more open space to work in. So yes, there has been a shift in the real estate with, I would think a lot of rentals have come up with the people I've spoken to. You have a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of young professionals who have been coming to go and taking a lot of places on rent. At the same time, we've also noticed at another level, you have people who have decided, okay, enough of the city life, we cannot take this anymore. And this pandemic has proved to be the perfect opportunity to make that move we always wanted. And we buy a place, we've worked long enough, we have the capital, we're going to buy a place in Goa. And so you see the different kind of scenarios at a micro level, and it's very difficult to pinpoint at the macro level what exactly is the real estate scenario. Is it going up? It seems like there is no shortage of money. Probably people not having the opportunity to spend money on holidays abroad because of the pandemic have that extra capital to invest in a villa in Goa and basically have a vacation in India itself. And yeah, so I mean, our research is going to keep continuing so that we kind of understand exactly. It's difficult to understand actually, but at least to get some kind of uh, a top view of how the real estate market is panning.
Okay, so I have another question since Mark mentioned about picking the characters. How did you four get together as like different individuals and decide to sort of get into this competition and do this film? Donovan, do you want to share, or Douglas?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Don.
So I think for the longest time we've kind of always kind of wanted to work. I mean, we share a lot of time together, opportunities, and this kind of worked in a decent area. And I think the concept of what the film was to be kind of worked in the favor of everyone agreeing to get on board with this project, where we uh, kind of combine the idea of what is happening in Goa with the game of Monopoly and try to find a story within that whole area. And that kind of piqued everyone's interest. I must say at this point that it's not just the four of us on this team. There are still more people. There's Edson, there's Ashutosh Parwadkar, there's Amir Norona, there's Kim Vegas, there's Karina Kocheri. That means we had a huge force actually that came on board just because they really were interested with the idea of working on something like this. And so we took it from there. And everything kind of evolved as we started working. We never had, I mean, we had an idea that we wanted to kind of put these two together, but how we went about it was not predetermined. It was an ongoing process as we kept evolving this thing, you know. So it was a good 40 days of constant work where I think all of us kind of let our work take a back seat and kind of just focused on getting this thing done. But yeah, finally we had this thing. And as Mark was saying, the work carries on. We're still working on various other avenues and even fleshing this film out to be a little bit more and stuff like that.
Out of the 10 films, from all the films that are made as a part of Nagari 2020, your film has this as a distinctive mode of visual treatment. You guys made models. So, I'm assuming that that style of representation must have come through some thought or some sort of different idea as to that is sort of the best way to represent your narrative. So can you share a bit more about why you use that visual medium, or was that the intersection of what all you guys did as in the film?
I'll ask Douglas and Govit to get into this one.
See, since our whole concept was based on the game of Monopoly, we wanted to keep the treatment very simple as a game, how the Monopoly goes, with not complicating too many videos and all these things. And also, we wanted to put it on a very simple basis. Also, pandemic restricted the moment. We were thinking of taking video shots and all these things, but we couldn't do it. And also, working on a diorama, like being an artist, I was really up for this to actually create an entire set. And also, we worked, our research we did was very intense. How we designed the typologies, how we incorporated different topographies of Goa, the mountains, the fields. So it was, we wanted to put it in a different way. Douglas?
Douglas, you're mute.
Oh, that's in my control. Okay. Hi. I can't hear anybody.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep the ambient sound because I get disoriented. But so yeah, adding to what Govit has already said, I would only have a few things to say. So just that the medium of animation was chosen. I mean, live animation and stop motion was chosen for a couple of reasons. One being that it's an easy storytelling medium compared to what we would have had to get onto otherwise, which is go out in the field and meet a lot of people, start getting insights, and it starts becoming very hardcore. And with stop motion and a controlled set environment to tell the story, the plus point is that we can tell whatever story we want, firstly, without having any authority step on our feet, without having to cross and jump over any gates or borders, but at the same time being honest with how we want to represent the entire thought process. I could say something which my brother Donovan, being an architect, he was really motivated in bringing out the whole concept of how the game Monopoly actually represents the same scene. And it seemed easiest to tell it in this kind of a visual format because a lot of the design was in our control. I must say, yeah, like with better budget, you can do much better design also. But then considering a month's time to finish a work like this, it made sense to put everything within a set and work from there versus going out and complicating the affair here. And it was a Herculean process, like as Dodo mentioned. Like a lot of people just came on board to help, became part of the team, and it was like a good 12 of us, I think, including the art department always had some Govit who was leading the art department, but always there with him. Okay, need to get supplies, need to get manufacturing all those typologies, and it was quite intense. We have this really cool behind the scenes video, but we don't have it right now to share with you all because one of our associates holds exclusive rights of showing that to. Yeah.
So speaking about the typologies, now that Douglas has brought it up, we see very distinct, colorful constructions and vertical housing. So why this seems to be Donovan's largely driven. So Donovan, maybe you could answer, why did you use this iconography? And also, do you foresee this phenomena of in the larger housing context in Goa?
So, I mean, why the colors was kind of a simple, we were working with various typologies, right? We had to represent various kinds of economies and social structures and stuff like that, as well as an evolving architectural typology that we see today in Goa. So we would represent architecture that one would largely see maybe in the Konkan belt, like, more in the hinterlands, than certain other typologies that one would see in the more post-colonial areas, and then about the modern typologies and stuff like that. And color just seemed to be the way. I mean, unassociated again to monopoly, because monopoly, each, they have two little variants, right? You have the green and then you have the red, and they stand for a different kind of setting. One's a hotel, one's a home. You have 5 homes, you get a hotel. I mean, a bunch of things like that. So it was a play on that. The colors just made it easier, we felt, to kind of identify these typologies on the board. And I mean, about verticality and everything, I mean, this is quite easy to glean, no? I mean, we Goa predominantly has been a place which has been very horizontal in its development, and that is a lot to say about the kind of area that was available and affordability of land and stuff like that, which has changed today. I mean, the affordability, I mean, its prices in certain belts are skyrocketing, and so if one needs to kind of make the best of their, investment in properties, then verticality is one way that would suffice, and that's where you'll get your maximum returns. So, and that's what we want to represent as what is we see happening today. Like, I come from Panjim, and like we've seen Karanzale change in my lifetime. As a kid, I used to go cycling down that road, and it was very, very rural urban, but like, in that fragile balance between the two. And today, when you go there, you can't even recognize Karanzale anymore. And there are many places like this that one could see, and that's what we wanted to kind of represent with the verticality as to what goes, and eventually where that whole landscape, which starts from somewhere which we kind of wanted to connect to as the ideal sense of what Goa is, to what it will become at one point, to one that then what is the interest of investment? I mean, everything that one wants to invest towards in Goa is gone. Like, if you wanted to be in harmony with nature or something like that, in time, that is not going to be possible anymore. And so then what happens? Then everyone's trying to just peek over the other one into views and stuff like that, which again, real estate norms to make capital. So yeah, so that's how that thing was developed and designed.
Basically, we divided the entire board into 2 color schemes. Like, one is a warm color scheme and cool color. So the entire the green area, the blues, it gives a huge contrast compared to the reds and yellows of the typologies. So this is how we are playing, and the sand, of course. So color schemes were very basic on the board, and it's also very when there are very few color schemes, it's also very simple to understand as well.
And also the whole idea of like the language of the game, right? The game Monopoly is also a very colorful board by itself. So we wanted to hold on to like a few kind of, without having use the treatment of using characters within the shot and things like that. So what other ways are there of representing the same colors that you see in the whole game environment?
And I would just like to add something, because Donovan touched upon it, about, in very simple terms, what people are coming to Goa for is basically the open spaces and being in harmony with nature. And this is not just some idyllic kind of theory that we came upon. It's based upon certain interviews that we've conducted even lately. I spoke to a few people who have recently moved to Goa post-pandemic, and I asked them about their reasons about moving to Goa. Now, let me point out that these are people who have taken places on rent. So, and they're young professionals, so rent, again, apartments, vertical buildings. then again, I asked them about the development, what motivated them to come to Goa. They said, no, it was about getting out of the city. We couldn't do it anymore. And we were just waiting for an opportunity. And uh, the pandemic actually gave us that impetus, that gave us that excuse to leave the city and come to Goa. But all of them who I've spoken to, they've actually said, but we're not happy with how it's changing so rapidly, because we came here to be to live in harmony with nature. And it's very interesting that they actually pointed out that most of whenever these little protests have happened regarding any illegalities, regarding the CRZ or cutting of trees, these people who have recently moved to Goa have been at the forefront of those protests. So you can see the kind of uh, the thought process behind moving to Goa to be in tune with nature, and then suddenly realizing, like, wait a minute, hold on, this is changing, and we don't want it to. We've come for a particular reason. And in terms of the impact of the film, speaking with other people as well, this is just something someone told me. When I was speaking about the character that we chose, the investor, the one with a lot of money and competition. Someone told me about his mother who just told him, like, okay, let's just buy one apartment, a big apartment in Goa, and he had just watched our film, and he's like, your film made such an impact that I asked my mom, why do you want to buy an apartment? She said, no, just to have an apartment in Goa, like we'll have a. And he asked her, like, are you going to live there? She said, yeah, we can go for a holiday. And he's like, but then why do you just want to take up a place? It will be locked for most of the year. And it's not solving any housing problem. You might as well come down and just take a place on a short rental. So it's very interesting to understand how not just the real estate scenario is changing. Again, it's very difficult to pinpoint. As I said, maybe on a macro level, you can see things like, okay, vertical buildings and things like that. But at the micro level, the interactions that happen, the thought process of people moving and coming to Goa, taking places on rent or buying it, that is also changing so rapidly. And yeah, so this is just something I wanted to add, that I thought was rather interesting about the profile of people who are choosing to live in Goa right now. And you could take this model, you could extrapolate it to a different place. People, friends of ours from abroad have watched this little 5-minute film, and they've said, oh my God, this is happening where I am, in Brazil, in Spain. So it's we were really happy with the kind of impact and how people related to the film. So yeah.
Just by the way, for those in the audience, if anybody has a question to the team, you can leave it in the chat. But yes, this is something that even we realized when going through the comments of your film particularly. A lot of members of the public have commented kind of relating this to either when they last visited Goa on holiday, or sort of a reality check, because people who have bought property in Goa. So it's yeah, I mean, definitely, and that was the intention that we had behind Nagari, was that these films would at least create some awareness to people about what is happening in the realm of housing. And this year we're talking about urban livelihoods. So coming to rent, because I think rental housing really is becoming a little bit more controversial now in Goa, when the government has proposed is implementing a bill called the Bhumiputra bill. For those who are not familiar with Goan politics and policy, what the Bhumiputra bill does is it's a bill that through a committee that the government are constituting will eventually inquire and try to fast track ownership of people who are living in properties on rent for over 30 years. So now when we look at housing adequacy in Goa, and when we look at a huge amount of speculation in housing driving up rental prices and making rental housing less affordable for people who would either be working in Goa or working for building up more of this housing in Goa. How do y'all think the implementation of such a bill would have any impact on the larger picture?
So I think this is a very recent development, right? And there's a lot of contestation already on the topic. And I think for us, it's something that we would like to be able to analyze a little bit more than just to react to something that's just happening for that matter. I mean, what we anyway always try to do, we've tried to do this in this film as well. We've never tried to take a side on any affair. It is just saying it how it is, basically. And and so, I mean, Bhumipatra, I don't know, actually. This is something that I will have to take some time. I think we all would also agree that it's very hard to make a major comment about something like this because unless it's completely understood and analyzed, then I think it's very hard to even take a stand on any of these things. I know if the other guys.
In fact, we had a brief discussion about the Bhumiputra, and see, in terms of the film and the depiction, it's a scenario that could even fit in a film like this. But as Donovan said, and we agreed that it is a fairly recent development, and we would like to analyze it further because there are so many different facets to the bill. I mean, I've not even looked at it very deeply, but there's a lot of questions that have been coming up. I've been just reading the news, the articles that have come up, and there are so many different facets to this. There's a question of comunidad lands. There's a question of identity. There's the insider-outsider kind of discussion that's come up. There's a whole political discussion that's come up. So at this point in time, we would not be able to make an informed comment on the Bhumiputra bill and how whether it's good, it's bad, or. But anyways, again, as Donovan said, even while making the film, we never side. Even while watching the film, anyone could be considered the protagonist. Anyone could be considered the antagonist. Anyone could be considered the victim. It's based on how you watch the film, your social standing, the stage you are in at life. You could look at and again, as and move they go with one scenario came down to thing that happened. This is just probably one of the conversations that happened regarding real estate. So yeah, regarding the Bhumiputra bill, we will hold back our comment. Douglas wants to say something.
No, I think me comment. We as a filmmaker have not got any comments right now. So I think in the context of this, it is too recent. But all I can say is that it's being looked at again. To let the politicians handle the controversies.
Maybe you can sponsor another film, Tahir, and we can make one for about this.
So we've got a very good response this year. I see your name in one of the entries, Donovan. So let's see.
But I think so. I had another question. So the film basically comes through as an observation from the team, I believe. But while you were interviewing people or while you were speaking to the people who own houses in Goa, what was their position about the entry of investment into the state? Or what is your position about the entry of investment or capital into the state? How do you look at development or infrastructural development or development of density in Goa? What's your position about that?
But
I just feel like if there was as much investment in filmmaking as development in Goa, we would have been like super happy.
but to answer your question, man, I think it's anyone's right to stay anywhere in India. It's part of what makes India India, and so for that, it's a constitutional right. So I think there is no contestation there. It's more about the way we invest. And coming from Goa, whatever it is, I think everyone's implicit in what's happening here. It is not to position and say that, oh, it's external investment and that is what's creating this. It is, I mean, where there is if there's someone who wants to buy, there's someone who's ready to sell. And, that's how any market works. So I think everyone's implicit in what's happening and everyone needs to be conscious about where we're going in that direction. So, I don't know. Does that answer your question or?
Probably you wanted to know about
what was thoughtful development or
what is more? No, I didn't hear you, sorry.
What is thoughtful development according to you then?
Thoughtful development would be, it's a very loaded question, first of all.
We do have the time. If you want to talk about that. It's important to understand. We agree that there is some sort of changes or there is a shift that we witness in the state or the city, but we also probably know the why of it. But I think it's important to understand as to how do we thoughtfully shape it in such a way that I don't know. If you sort of have understood my question, or we could.
But I feel that is such a massive discussion, really.
That's good.
You guys are architects as well. You know that the entire world is struggling with this question. So for me to say anything would be very, very naive right now. So,
all right. Makes sense.
I think I could put it this way, that research that stems from work like what you all are doing can help inform thoughtful development in the future. I think that, and on that note, I'd really like to thank the four of you for joining in, being so candid with us. It was great.
Yeah, and I really, personally really like a film. That is why I thought I'll sort of try and
press you all a little bit more.
Yeah, apart from that, I think it's an important question. It's a contemporary question that needs to be addressed in all the urban circles anyway. So
yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks for having us as well.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
Bye.